Hi, I'm Jason Chafee, and this is my cheese making video. This is my audience, including my camerawoman, Ms. Billy Haney, who is behind the camera right now.
This is me.
We will get down to the cheese making. Hi, I'm Jason Chafee, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make mozzarella cheese right here in your own kitchen. First thing we need to talk about is equipment. First thing we're going to need is a stainless steel pot, big enough. Usually people have a pasta pot about this big. We need one big enough that'll hold a full gallon of milk. Next thing we're going to need is a plastic spoon for stirring, a knife to cut your curds with that is long enough to reach to the bottom of your pot, so you can go all the way down once you get your curd formation. We're also going to need a colander to pour our curds off in the sink and drain out the whey. And then we're going to need a microwave-proof bowl that we will place our curds in and place in the microwave so we can heat them up enough to where we can get them to where we need to stretch. The next thing we need to talk about are our ingredients. These are our ingredients. First thing you're going to need, this is just a regular gallon of whole milk. You cannot use ultra-pasteurized milk. You need to use whole milk. This comes from Albertsons. It's just plain. Try and find the freshest you can find. The next thing we're going to need is rennet. Rennet is the hardest thing to find. You can find it at the grocery stores. It comes in a little pill form like this. You use a quarter of the pill. The rennet you find in grocery stores is not strong enough. I had to find this online. I went to cheesemaking.com. It was real simple. They hooked me up with everything I needed. We're going to add a quarter cup of water to our rennet. We're going to take our whisk and stir it up until it dissolves. And we'll set that aside. Next thing we're going to need, which you can also get from a cheese making supply store, is citric acid. And citric acid helps form your curds also. You'll take a cup of cool, non-chlorinated water, add it to your citric acid. Again, you want to take it and stir it until it dissolves. Then we'll take our water and we'll pour it into our pot, our stainless steel pot that we can fit our milk in. Then we take our milk and pour our milk in on top of our citric acid. Now what you want to do after you get the milk in, I like to tilt the pot because otherwise you splash milk all over your kitchen. What you want to do when you get your gallon of milk on is you need to bring it up to 90 degrees. Turn your stove on up to high or whatever you feel comfortable with. You need to have yourself a readable thermometer. And then you need to stir, ensuring that your citric acid is getting stirred in nice and thoroughly while you're bringing your milk to temperature. Depending on your stove and the temperature of your milk when you put it in, this is going to take a little while. So you can plan on being here for about 5 minutes. Okay. Now that our milk has reached 90 degrees, we're going to take our heating pad or a towel, whatever you wish. We're going to remove it from the stove completely. Stoves like to hold a lot of heat, so that tends to be a problem. While after you do that, we'll take our rennet, which we've dissolved in water, and we'll slowly add it, and we'll stir it in an up and down motion for 30 seconds. And I usually just count Mississippis, so you can usually do it by the number of stirs, but you want to stir it in an up and down motion. Even though it'll go side to side, you want to make sure that it's incorporated all the way through your milk. And once we reach this stage, we're going to put a lid on it and we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes or so, and while we allow the curd to form. And once the curd is formed, we'll be back with our next step. Alright, now our cheese is set, our milk has sat, and the curds have formed. If you can see, it's kind of looking solid there. We're going to put it back on the stove. What we're going to do is we're going to take our curd knife now, and you take it and you just cut nice little squares. It'll move around, but it's not that big a deal. You can see real vaguely how it's holding squares. Some milk will hold better than others. This being commercial milk, non-organic, this is about the best you can hope for. But Albertsons does pretty good. It's been good to me so far, and I can usually get about 14 to 15 ounces of cheese from a gallon of milk. So you want to kind of cut them sideways. You can see how they're starting to break up a little bit. And you just cut your curds nice and easy like that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring our heat back up, and we're going to raise the temperature of our curds to 105 degrees. So let me put my knife down and get my stove turned on. I usually turn mine up around high because it's a little quicker. Everybody's different. If you're more patient than I am. Okay, so now our curds are warming back up on the stove. I'm going to put my thermometer in, and I'm going to very slowly stir my curds. See, that's what you want to see. You can see them nice and chunky. Kind of looks like cottage cheese on steroids. Gotta be careful with your thermometer, or the heat off your stove will burn your hand like it's doing to me right now. And you got to remember, when you're heating up liquids on a stove, that you're going to have a little bit of what's called carryover heat. So I need this to get up to 105. So I will probably turn the heat off at around 101. And usually the heat that's left over in the pan will bring it up to about 105 for you. You don't want to stir your curds too hard, but you want to make sure that you're getting good and mixed up. Now, this is the exciting part. It takes a little while to come up to heat. Okay, now that we've had our curds set and we've stirred them, our next step is we're going to take them to the sink, and we're going to pour them in the colander and pour off the whey. The whey is the liquids, and the curds will be the solids. Let's see if I can get out of the light here a little bit. Whoa. Now, a lot of times, as you can see, your colander will clog up a little bit. Just shake it and stir it. Okay. Let that sit in the sink for a minute. Get my spoon here, get it out, and then we're going to let this drain off as much of the liquid as we can. A lot of times it helps. Stir. Alright, as you can see, I've drained off the curds, and I've moved the curds from my colander into a microwave-proof bowl. I don't have all the way out, but I've gotten quite a bit. In fact, let me give it one more little dump right there. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take it and put it in our microwave. Now, depending on your microwave, it's always different. This one takes about 1 minute the first time. And there we go. Okay, our microwave is finished with the first heating. As you can see, When you do that, it raises up a little more way, and you want to drain that off one more time. Take your spoon, be careful, drain off the rest as much of the way as you can get rid of. Alright, here's where you can get creative with your cheese. You can, if you'd like, you can put sun-dried tomatoes, chopped fresh herbs, just about anything. Sky's the limit. We're going to put cheese salt that you can get just about anywhere. This is a teaspoon. We're going to fold that in just a little bit, and then drain off just a little more away. Alright. And then back into our microwave for 30 more seconds. Okay, we've had our last 30 seconds in our microwave. This is what our curds will look like. We'll take them and give them one last drain. Drain off as much of the way as you can. This is where you start stretching your cheese. I like to use a spoon because it's usually really hot. And as you stretch it out, you can see it become smoother and smoother as you go. Now the more you stretch your cheese, the firmer it's going to be. So it depends on really what you want. If you want kind of a chunkier, more breakable cheese, then stretch it a little less. If you want a firmer, silkier cheese, then you're going to need to stretch it a little more. This is kind of the hard part because it's pretty hot. But this is what you do. Stretch that cheese out like that. Go ahead and stretch. Stretch a little more. Now this cheese, since I've been stretching it so much, will probably be pretty firm. But that's going to be okay. It slices really well. And then if you want to make pizzas or anything like that with it, the firmer your cheese is, the better it's going to grate for you. Now here, I have a big bowl that's big enough. This is about 50-degree water. And you want to pour in enough so your cheese ball, once it's formed, once it's formed, you can put it in here and it'll submerge it and cover it. So what you want to do is take your cheese, work it almost like a bread dough, and kind of pull towards the center. Now I caution you, this cheese is really hot, so keep it moving and be very, very careful. Okay. Now we're going to throw it into our chill bath for 5 minutes, and then we'll put some ice on it. So, there's the cheese. Let's see how it does. Okay, now as you can see, I've got a tray of ice. I want to break this up. I'm going to add this to my chilled water. I chilled it in 50-degree water for 5 minutes, and then we're going to add ice, and we're going to let it sit in an ice bath for 15 minutes. And then all that's left is the cutting and the eating. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, well now we have cheese. It's been chilling in our bowl here on our ice bath for 15 minutes. So we'll pull our chunk of cheese out. And there we go. It's a little creamy, you can feel it. Take it out. I like to set it on a cutting board. You take a paper towel and just blot it dry. Now this cheese is ready to eat. You can cut it right now, or what I usually do is I'll just take it and wrap it up in saran wrap. And that's how easy it is to make mozzarella cheese right here in your kitchen.